Welcome to the Sage. Welcome to this concluding part of a 3-part series which we've been running for the past few weeks on the importance of family in nation building. If you've been with us, you would have listened to our 3 amazing young ladies, beautiful young ladies. If you didn't listen, if you had missed any of it, please do go to our YouTube. The previous episodes are there. This week is the concluding part. And if you remember, we have the lovely ladies, Pagina, Brianata, Justina Abo, and Rachel Bob on with us on set. They've been very brave. They've been very kind. They have shared candidly with us the wonderful things that have made them indeed who they are. But let me be frank and say that they are amazing. They are here. They are intelligent, communicating, and may not be a complete representation of all the many young people out there. Having listened to them, despite the ups and downs, which they were frank enough to share, each one of them have been privileged by a relatively strong and loving and supportive family life, which may not always be the case for many young people out there. But the importance, however, of the discussion is particularly in this final episode to talk about what, in their young opinions, looking from their fresh experience of family, what can we all do to strengthen the family as that basic unit of association in our country? It is the family that forms the community that forms the town that forms the state, and the states that form our nation. If families could be optimally lived and used, what can we do therefore to improve our country? And so let's discuss that. Now, tangibly from you young people, what should we do? What are the recommendations so that families can thrive better, can function optimally, can produce responsible, well-adjusted citizens, particularly in a climate such as ours, where we know there's still a lot to be desired. Let me start with you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you, Mommy. For me, there's this saying, do as I say and not as I do. I think that should be scrapped. It should be do as I say and do as I do. As parents, I'm not a parent yet, but I have
you have plans.
I have plans. Yeah, but my siblings have children and I consider them mine also. So I watch babies. They're like little sponges. Whatever they see you do, whatever they hear you say, they want to say it, they want to do it. And that is a big responsibility on parents, on aunties and uncles. You get, it's not enough to say don't raise your voice at your sister and you are raising your voice at your husband and your child is present. That's wrong. That's so wrong. You can't tell them don't do this and they turn to look at you and you are telling them you are doing what you're saying not to do. I think that's one thing that we need to, as individuals, as members of a family unit, we need to stop that, because there are people watching, there are children watching us. Another thing that I want to say.
Let me agree with you and say, not even just children. If you as a young lady, your father tells you I expect excellence, and you see him being less than excellent, the lesson is broken.
Yeah.
So it's a lesson for all of us at every point, whether little or grown. Parents and guardians and people who other people look up to need to know you're always there in a glass house and need to live up to your words. Yeah, agreeing with you really, yeah.
So another thing, I'm not married yet, but there are certain conversations an unmarried person ought to have before getting into that institution of marriage. I see the rate of divorces now in Nigeria. I don't want to go to the globe. Is rising, and it's not something that divorce was not something that was known in Nigeria, like in Africa, like that, because we all believe in you are together forever until death. So it's I'm not saying you should stay in a place where your life is at risk. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying have conversations before getting married. It's not when you get married and you find out you say, oh, he spends money too much. No, this is something, these are conversations you should have. You know, what our finances going to be like? Are you going to be a stay-at-home mom? Am I going to be a stay-at-home dad? How are we planning to work the family? What are the values that we want to instill in our children? Are we going to, is it okay for them to sleep at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.? You know, and I know this seems like bedtime seems inconsequential, but it's very important.
It's about discipline.
It's all about discipline.
Having a routine, a proper routine.
Yes, and what are we going to do about our relations? How are we going to handle them? Are we going to be a united front? Because this is another thing about African families. Yes, I said in the last episode about togetherness of the African community, people coming together. But there is a disadvantage to that when family members, external family members, want to have a say in the nuclear unit. So what is our decided front? Are we going to be one voice, or am I as a woman going to say, you know, my mom said this, so I'm not going to say I'm not going to agree with what my husband said. What are we going to have? This conversation should be things that should be had before the marriage, before you say I do, because love is not just an emotion. It's not I love you. No, it's a choice. It's something for me. I don't have other people. So I don't impose my belief. It's a choice. It's stepping up. It's a responsibility. Thank you so much. It's a responsibility. I'm going to love you when you are not acting right. I'm going to love you enough to tell you this thing is not what we agreed at the beginning. So you need to act right. And I'm going to love you when you're at your best. And it's not he's doing this, I can't deal anymore. You know, I can't. He just said this, I can't deal. So I'm going to separate. No. That's not what we're about. You have to step up. You have to make a choice. I am in this for the long run. So it doesn't matter what comes.
What you are really saying is, if we say family is oftentimes made up of the two that got married and decided to raise a family, it has to be as strong as possible if it's going to be effective. If you're always fighting and quarreling, or if you break up even before you've started and so on, then the institution is not stable enough or strong enough to raise, the family. So it's important. The point you're making is valid, that as you go into a relationship and decide to begin a family, try your best to ensure that relationship actually works, so that it becomes a safety net it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because essentially, what are we training our children to? Is it that when things get tough, it's okay to run away?
Let it go.
Yeah, just like.
But a battling environment is never one that will nurture a child.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to you.
Balance.
Let me go back. Let's go around. Gina, you want to say your bits now?
Okay. I think what I would say is, first, I would like to tackle the workspace and the workplace. It would be very good if every business, every workplace, I know there are some places that get to work Monday to Sunday. Of course, the hospitals and some other of these places that they can't just do but work every day. It's very advisable that we promote family-friendly activities, in the sense that I could have a hospital, for instance. Of course, I'm not a doctor, nothing close to. But I could have a hospital, and in that hospital, I have a place where maybe like a daycare where a parent, yes, can just drop the child there and in the course of work, go there, look at the child. Oh, my child is in good hands. And that way there's a balance, you know. I'm being a good mom and I'm also being a good nurse or a good doctor, being there when I'm needed at work and being there when I'm needed as a mom. Because, you know, there's sometimes that there might be some emergency and because, oh, I'm at work, can't this wait? And then your child is, you know, but you never can tell what might happen. But having such activities and making such facilities, you know, availably ready for parents and future parents like ourselves, right? Would actually help.
Future parents.
Yes, would help a great deal. And secondly, I would like to talk about, you know, parents.
Yeah, before you go on to parent, let me also say that's very important. So what you're saying is actually, as a society, we need to build a parenting friendly environment.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to work. Times are tough. We have to earn money for ourselves and to raise our family, and therefore try institutionally at every level, all sectors, public, private, and so on, to create environment that allows parents to work and still have time for their children. Yeah, so that's a great suggestion. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so secondly, I would like to talk about parents where, you know, I've heard of some parents, you know, some families whereby the parent wants the child to study this particular thing or wants the child to further in this career path. And instead of being in sync with what the child wants and advising and guiding the child as regards what the child wants and what the child feels is best. And if you feel as a parent is not best, you make the child say it. Instead of doing that, you impose. Oh no, I gave birth to you. I carried you in my womb. And so if I say this, and all of those things. So if I say you must do this, you have to do it. It doesn't apply in all ways. You know, as parents, we have to learn that it gets to a point where they have to stand as a unit on their own. They have to stand because we're building. I'm not a parent. Why am I saying we? Okay, yes, actually.
You are.
Yes, well, we're building them, you know, to be able to stand strong on their own to raise another generation coming. So if you keep spoon feeding them, okay, you're doing this, you must do this, and not let them make their own decisions and just guide them as we should as parents. What's the point? Eventually, you actually get children who are rebellious, who just lack every form of compassion and passion to, you know, do what they find their hands to do, and then they grow up with that, and eventually they're in government places, and then they're like, now to just do your chop money, oh, nothing concern me. You understand? And so it goes up with them. So as parents, we should also try to feature in what the child also wants. And mommy, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
I think because that is such an important part, and it's one that I'm living now in the context of Conversations for Change. Because as we try to impart to our beautiful young entrepreneurs, you live your passion.
Yeah.
You will do best at something that really interests you, that you find yourself passionately interested in. You know, for you, it's cosmetology. It's, for you, it's fashion design. For you, you're a lawyer, you like it, but also you found you were drawn to the spa, all of that, massage and so on. A human being, not just a child, is best at what he loves to do.
Sure.
And so I agree with you, Antali. If we have a society of human beings, young people, and even some, who have been supported to be able to be productive at the things that drive them, then that's when you have productive, successful human beings. So I think the importance of that cannot be overstated. We found that, many times in our entrepreneurs. It is when you support them and encourage them so that they are doing that thing they like and finding themselves good at it, that they become, successful entrepreneurs, successful professionals. It cannot be understated. Too many times in our country, we have square pegs and round holes around, and so on, because people are not where they find themselves, happy to be. So it's such an important point. Yeah.
I think lastly, what I would like to talk about is responsibility. You know, Rachel earlier said, and I'd just like to say also, it's very important. You know, in the previous episode, I mentioned that family is like farming. You know, what you do before you actually go right in is very important. And as individuals, we should see ourselves as important, like in playing a role in a family. You know, when I made mention of the fact that my younger sister did something and I spanked her and corrected her about it. Imagine if she had done that and I'm like, it's your life, oh. Do whatever you want to do. And I don't correct her immediately and make her understand the reason why I had to do that. You know,
they go away with the bad
yes,
habits.
and it just keeps going on. But I know I have a role, a very important role. I have that responsibility as an elder sister to do that, to correct her. So if we all, as individuals, wherever we find ourselves, workplace, wherever, we see ourselves as you know, that important person, that important individual in the general public, in the general family and upbringing
with a moral responsibility for our family and the people around us.
Is going to actually help a lot.
Yeah. Great. I agree with you entirely. Justina, what about you?
Okay, thank you once more, Mommy. I want to emphasize on the point of discipline. Discipline that has brought us up. We of that age, not the Gen Z now. The Gen Z don't understand the word discipline, and they don't
yourself as older.
No, Mommy, Mommy, I'm not among this Gen Z generation at all. They are the children of the 20s. Mommy, if we can bring back that culture of discipline to the world we are living in right now, a lot of things will be different. Discipline in the sense that you will discipline this child to be contented with what he or she has. Children are no longer contented because, number one, everybody is using an iPhone. I want to use an iPhone 15. Everybody wants to wear bone straight. Everybody wants to wear human hair. Everybody wants to drive the latest Bentley. When you are not working yet, when all these things takes process, they don't understand. My friend is using an iPhone, so therefore I want to use an iPhone. My friend is using this one, so therefore I have to do it. We don't have that contentment spirit again, and it's destroying the world. We have a recent trending story now that's been trending for a while. A 300 level Uniport student that was slaughtered and butchered by her boyfriend, the 400 level petrochemical engineering student in University of Port Harcourt. He removed her eyes to use her for ritual. He's a big boy in school. He drives this. He's using the latest this one. He's using the latest that one. And then he had to use his own girlfriend. And as I don't even want to call it, unfortunately, her name is Justina. Justina's like us that are very rigid and then are very bold. If they are slaughtering a Justina somewhere. Somebody wants to use an iPhone and then you have to pay with your life for it. People are paying with their lives. Lives are lost every day. Now everywhere you go to, you meet one person, a 16, 17, 15 years old girl with a child. Everybody's celebrating baby mama. I have a child now. Okay, the whole world is celebrating it. But it is wrong. Even in 100 years to come, wrong is wrong and right is right. So if we can bring back and imbibe that spirit of discipline back to this generation, I think it will help us. It will help us in the long run. It's disheartening having to read a lot of things that is happening. This one is using this one. Husbands are using their wives for ritual. They are using their children. Boyfriends are using girlfriends. Why? I want to drive the latest Benz. I want to impress who, for heaven's sake? As God will even have it, I'm not even someone that you would even want to impress. I don't even care. I'm so satisfied with what I have that I don't even look at whether you are wearing what. I don't even look at. I can just look at you and appreciate you. I want to have this. Can we instill that spirit of discipline and contentment in our children? Discipline them to say, this thing you are doing is not right. This thing you are doing is not supposed to be like that. You can't. You look at the society now. Look at what everybody is doing now. We have kidnappers and we have this. We have everybody rampaging around the society, destroying the society for us. Nigeria that is so blessed. If we have all these good attributes and all of that, at least everybody can bring hands together to say, okay, we have out of 99, one bad person. That one bad person cannot surpass the remaining 99. If we have 99 good persons, that last one person does not even have a choice. Where does he want to go and exhibit all those bad characters? And then I want to make reference to this, make a point to this communal responsibility. All these bandits and all these armed robbers, all these kidnappers we have in Nigeria today are from a family.
Absolutely.
All of them are from a home. A father and a mother came together to birth that child. So who are the parents of those children? Who are the parents of all these baby mamas? Who are the parents of all these people that are displaying all sorts of indiscipline around the country, on the internet and the rest? You will see things online and I keep wondering, does these people not have parents? Do they not have uncles and aunties?
Can I extend that? Because sometimes, you talked about kidnappers and armed robbers.
Yes.
What about our politicians and corrupt officials?
Mommy, that is where that spirit of contentment is coming into.
No,
because they are so greedy.
Who are seeing the mass they are amassing.
They are committing.
And celebrating because their children are rich. I want to say, because I think this is such an important point. I think this point you've made is so important to our culture, to our situation today. If families and communities held their children accountable, because your son or daughter went into politics and is now driving 20 cars, that is reprehensible. It is not to be celebrated. You as a mother is not going, or father going around saying my child is big. We must begin to hold our children accountable, whether they be politician, whether they be armed robber, all of them are doing the wrong things.
Mommy, it's so bad. Like, it has eaten so deep into the society that we have to go back to the grassroots. We, the upcoming generation, we have to put in so much effort. Like they used to say, we are the leaders of tomorrow. Let us put in that effort so that when our children and we become leaders of tomorrow, when we are there, we'll know that, okay, these things are wrong. And we are not supposed to do this. Money meant for public purposes, money meant for the public, money meant for the masses. One single human being is sitting on it comfortably with good conscience. How is that? Like, how is that even happening in the society we are living? People are hungry. People are dying of starvation. There is no food. The cost of living is so high. And then one single person is driving 20 cars. One single person is driving cars worth how many billion naira? For crying out loud. Where are we going to?
Yeah.
So it is in our hands now, the upcoming generation. Would, like they used to say, take the only the violent take it by force. Once the foundation is faulty, there is nothing the righteous can do. So we have to go back to the foundation, especially with the upcoming generation. That this thing they keep saying, Gen Z, don't scold my child, don't talk to my child. The results are all these things we are seeing. Children are at home comfortably sitting down with 2-3 children. I was in JS3 sometime 2003 thereabout, 2004 thereabout. I was in JS3 then. And then I had a classmate as a JS3, she already had 2 children, sitting with her mother in the house. Her mother gave birth to 11, and the 11 the mother gave birth to some, like 4 or 5 are for different men. And then her daughter has bring 2 more. Her daughter brought 2 more to come and sit in the house with her. And then that is how this menace is destroying and eating so deep into the society. But if that woman has said, okay, she stood on her ground and there is no way you will bring an unwanted pregnancy to this house. There is no, as much as you will.
She needed to stand on her ground with herself first.
She was exactly, that's where the problem is coming from. She didn't. At the point she left the house, the children, everybody's like, if you don't want to hear about those people presently. You don't want to hear what they've turned into as we speak. We have 2 of them that anywhere you hear of armed robbery cases or where they went to steal a theft issue, one of our children are there. Anytime you hear of, okay, people doing prostitution, one of our daughters are there. So we have to, with this generation now, if we don't take it, if we don't hold the bull by the horn, we'll miss it and then it will keep getting worse. So the more we put our hands on ground to say this thing, we are taking it by force, and whether we like it or not, this discipline and this thing we have learned that helped us till today, that helped a lot of us till today, we have to bring it back for our own children. We can't leave them to continue messing up the society. And above all, I want us to always pray about it. I want us to always call, like me, there is no day I pray and I don't pray for my country, Nigeria. Somebody once said, the more you pray for Nigeria, the more Nigeria is getting worse. But me, I used to encourage myself and say, maybe if I'm not praying, it would have been worse than this. Yes. Maybe it's my prayers that are making it better, that is even making it better like this. And that is making me, okay, still make ends meet. What if I was not praying? Or what if nobody is praying and nobody is committing Nigeria to the hands of God? So as much as we are putting in all this effort, it goes hand in hand with prayers. Calling on God to take control and then...
Yeah. It's always a beautiful place to land. The concept of prayer. Because where Nigeria is supposed to be one of the most prayerful countries
I
in
think
the
Of
world.
course, it is
second.
one of the most
It's the
religious
second.
countries in the world.
But somehow we don't have it right, because I really do believe that prayer does work.
Of
I
course,
mean, there
it
have
does.
been well-controlled experiments. Actually, I'm a doctor, but all well-controlled experiments in medicine where it's been shown that prayer under control conditions actually it heals and so on and so
Of
forth.
course.
So it works.
Yes.
And so, but somehow we're not getting it right. I think many of us in Nigeria are still divorcing our prayer life from our day-to-day living. And so that is one of the recommendations. It is prayerful families, but truly prayerful families that turn their prayers into action. And so it's been a rich, wonderful discussion. I thank you all, young ladies, for your candor and for spending the time. But let me also before I wind up, let me bring in an aspect of the concerns of us, the elderly. You've talked as you should, like young people. You've just come out of the family at its tender stage. You're all ready to embark on raising your own families, your own young families. But a family is a lifetime structure. Those of us who are getting old are also part of families. And I know from the perspective of parents, and particularly grandparents, that what gives joy and longevity is that association with your children and your grandchildren. Personally, for me, when I wake up in the day, I want to smile on my face. I look to my God, and then I look to my grandchildren, and I start smiling. I remember the things they say. I remember the way they look. So family as an institution is very important along the life chain, along the life cycle. And so your mothers, your fathers, find joy and fulfillment, and someday will pass on to the great beyond because of also being part of a family. And so I think, yes, as Nigerians, we have a rich cultural heritage. Families naturally are a part of our lives and our culture. We need to nurture that, ensure that it is sustained, and indeed ensure that our cultures are transferred, that we, young people still know our languages, our cultures, and that we retain some of the excellent parts of it. What I have admired most oftentimes in the African culture is our culture of respect. The respect we accord to each other, to our elders, and so on. And so it is vital that, having recognized and accepted that family is pivotal to the nation, to the community, and yet there's still so much wrong with our nation and our community, that we look at ways of actively improving the family life of every person in this country. We've had excellent suggestions from the panel. You've talked about issues of religion, of prayer, of community stewardship, making the environment supportive of family, raising families, of doing what we say and not what we're telling them to do, but doing as we say, so that we all learn, our children learn from our example. You've talked of so many things, and they're all things each of us, everybody watching, can begin to more consciously put into practice. Let us come together to strengthen our family system and our family network. Let us use it as indeed the social net it should be for both the young and the old. Let us all work to improve our family. When we improve our families, we improve our country, we improve our world. We thank you. Join us again next week.